Good morning. Are you there?
No,
What was weird?
I'm here. It just
Okay,
cut into something else.
that's very, very strange. Okay, I can now do what I need to do. I'm telling you. Oh, good morning. So what's going on?
Today's a lovely
Kenny,
day here. It is a lovely
we're
day
in
here in
May,
Connecticut.
dude. Is it?
It's
It's
crazy,
a nice
crazy.
day. What's
It's an
crazy about it?
okay day. We're in May.
Yeah, it is. It's May already. So like this is almost halfway through the year. I'm not too particularly thrilled with like the speed with which everything's happening.
Mm, I hear you.
Existentially, I'm just not really a fan of all the speed in the year. It could slow down a little.
Mm, hmm
I mean, there's not much you can do
Well,
about it. If it doesn't slow down, then I guess you just have to suffer with it. But it would be nice if we could just kind of chill. It's just a lot going on.
32 more days of school, and I'm good to go with that. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's cool. I can understand that. You're gonna miss the kids.
Uh,
Okay, that's a no.
I didn't
That
say
looks like
no.
a no.
I love them
Oh,
to death.
yeah. Okay.
Mm,
Look at the face. Look at the face.
hmm hmm hmm
Okay, well, I mean, it'll be summer and that'll be good. I
hmm
need my microphone to be over here, so I'm just gonna have to block things or move
hmm
things around. I'm trying to make sure I have the logo in the background, but that's it's just gonna have to be what it is. Yeah, but I mean, it's it's gonna be. Yeah, I don't like summer is too hot. I don't like it. At least
Mm.
I'm hoping
Mhm.
it's not gonna be. I mean, I have friends that will hate this, but I don't want it to be 90 degrees. We had a couple of
Mm.
80 something degrees days like last month, and I was just really not about that. Not into it. You know, I don't really need it to snow either. But
Mhm.
yeah, no, I'm not letting you outside. Uh, no, not right now. But I don't really need snow either. But I would like. I think it's like my favorites are like 70 to like 40. 70 during the day, 40 at night. That's like perfect for me. That's my thing. So, I mean, it is what it is. I know a lot of people that are really in New England, especially that really love the summer.
Mhm.
I say, there's places down south you can do that, but whatever. So, what else is going on besides that in your life, Kenny?
Nothing. Just trying to
Really? Just
just trying to just trying to get all this NBA playoff stuff in my mind because it's boggling. I don't understand.
oh wow. I wish I could tell you what you're talking about, but I don't know. But I'm sure Ron knows
It's
what
a
you're talking
long
about.
story. You got
Yeah,
no
I'm not even
Glade. You got
catching.
no. You
I'm not
got no
catching any
Denver.
of that.
Why'd you? No, no. Why'd you
Yeah.
get it?
I used to be a
Yeah,
crazy
yeah.
fan, but I don't even watch most basketball like I used to, which
Mm.
I used to love it. I used to love that last Celtics team we had, that really good one with Garnett and
And Paul
God,
and
this would have
Ray,
been
Ray
probably
Allen and
the early like 2000s, the late 90s, or early to mid
two,
2000s,
two,
somewhere in there. Huh?
2008. 2008.
Yeah, all through that era was like I was into it, you know.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
used to
Mhm.
um I did love this. I wasn't a Celtics fan years ago. I was
Mhm.
really a Lakers fan. I was a Lakers fan. I was a Pat Riley fan way back in the 80s. This is like
Okay, I respect that. I
and
respect that. Mhm.
they played the Celtics a lot. There were a lot of playoff games, and so I saw a lot of the Celtics back then.
Mhm.
Um there were people that I was may or may not have been a fan of back then, especially from the Celtics. I would bring up Danny Ainge, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. But I mean,
Mm.
those are really good games, though. I mean, back in those days, in the 80s, those were some really, really good playoff games, you know? But
Mhm.
that second team, that I don't know, I want to say it's second team, but the Celtics have been a team for years, but there was that really
Mhm.
good streak they had
Yeah.
with
Yep.
Garnett and Pierce and some of the other guys
Yep.
that was awesome to watch there for a little while. So,
Mhm. Yep.
but yeah,
Yep.
I'm the same way about the Patriots. I was a big Patriots fan.
Mm.
Um, yeah, Vrabel. Well, that whole thing is that's I, I
Yeah.
don't understand the drama. Like, I guess it has to do with the media to some degree. I don't care who's having
Mm.
affairs with who. I don't
Thank you.
care. Like,
Thank you. Right. Thank you.
um, I don't. I know there's nothing you can really do about it because, like, you can't get away from it. In some ways, the way that the media is set up, I don't think that sports fans are interested. I just think that's the way um the news is rolling
Yeah.
out. But it
Mhm. Good.
overshadows
Yep.
a lot of the stuff sometimes. Well,
Yep.
why do women marry athletes? Gee, I don't know. Well, I mean, let's be fair. If you're gonna marry an athlete, you kind of should know the playbook of that.
Thank you. It's like saying, why do men marry supermodels?
Right.
Thank you. It's the same thing. It's the
I
same
mean, I
thing.
know why they do.
Mm. Mm.
I know why they do. Some of
Mm.
it's financial, some of it is
Mm.
status. Let's be honest. Men like to have status, and that's a status move. So that all their buddies can be like,
Mm.
"Hey,
Mm.
look
Yeah,
what he's doing."
exactly.
That's like, say, the
Hey,
motivation of like
hey.
75% of what men do is, "Hey, my buddies will think I'm cool." But I get that part of it.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, I don't know. I'm living in a world this week where I feel like most people just don't know. They're not paying attention to what like the common sense of stuff should be, you know?
Mhm.
And so people getting into a thing and then going, "Oh, this thing includes this, this, and this," but they're all things that they should have known about before they got involved in those
Mhm.
things. And so there's it's almost like this fake outrage or shock is very interesting to me of things that I don't know if people think, well, it's me, so it'll be different because I'm cool and I'm special, so it'll be different with me. But that's not the way the world works. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation for probably a whole nother episode.
Yes. Yes.
So what we're gonna do first is we're gonna get some information. We got some good news from you, Kenny. Oh, let me stop. Let me
Mm.
stop.
Yes.
Let me stop and say this is episode 99 as season 3. I just wanted to make sure I didn't forget that. It is cartoon week. So this is the
Mhm.
theme of the show today. And all right, I'm sorry about that, Kenny. Proceed.
It's okay. That is okay. That is okay. Yes. Well, good news. Two runners at the Boston Marathon stopped mid-race to help a fellow competitor who had collapsed due to several leg cramps.
You got to
A,
see
uh
that video,
spectator,
by the way. That's so cool. It's an
yeah,
awesome video.
yeah. Spectator Susan, we call her Susan because I kept it on her name, Sarai Sassy.
Hmm.
Sassy was watching the race on April 20th when she witnessed the emotional scene unfold near the closing stages. She says she noticed a
Hmm.
runner in a black top suddenly cut came to a halt and buckled under the pain with cramps in the muscles. With several athletes ran past, two competitors made the decision to stop and help. Hey, isn't that nice? Isn't that
That
nice? The
happens a
pairlifter.
lot on the marathon route.
Hmm.
It's probably one of the only times you see like any kind of camaraderie like that.
Hmm.
It's nice.
It's
It doesn't
nice,
really
yeah.
matter whether they're going to win or not. I think that most of the most of it is, hey, most people don't win, so the entire marathon doesn't win, with the exception of somebody from. There's usually
Yeah.
somebody from outside of the country that wins, but it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's nice to see.
So anywhere we can
Help
take
people
it,
out.
anywhere we'll get it, anywhere we see it, we'll take it. Anywhere.
Mhm,
It was a
mhm.
nice video. Go check it out.
Nice video. Yeah, nice video. And we want to say happy birthday to Spanub.
Okay,
Hmm.
who's that?
Hey, I'm glad you asked.
Okay,
Snub is the oldest penguin on the planet. She turns 38.
where is she?
Her She is in the UK. Her name comes from the medication that saved her life. She is the oldest Humboldt penguin on the planet. For her birthday, she got a cake with sardines and sprats, Cornish Cornish sardines and sprats. Devoured it, and she loved it. And just to let you know, her boyfriend is 21. Yeah. So
Cougar.
let you know her boyfriend is. So happy birthday to Spanub.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh,
I didn't see that.
right?
That's
Right?
awesome.
Spanub.
What other good news do we have, Kenny? You're dating younger Gwen. What?
That's
Why
it for
is it
good.
just half
That
of
is,
the word penguin is just Gwen? Why?
I just Gwen, right? Dating the
I don't
younger
know.
Gwen. I don't know. And that's it for
That's
our
pretty
good
funny.
news.
Aw, that's awesome.
Spanub.
You know, we can use a little good news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I did get it. Did it get me to laugh? I don't remember. Did I laugh? We should roll back the tape on that.
I think you laughed. I think you laughed a little
You
bit.
think?
I think
Okay.
you laughed. Who the heck is Spanub?
What we need on these shows is somebody that goes, let me review the tape. Oh, let me roll it back. Yep.
Let me
You
roll
said
it
this, you
back.
said
Yep.
that, you laughed, you didn't
Oh,
laugh, whatever. Have like a instant replay that we do, you know?
With
Yeah,
Gwyneth
okay.
Paltrow.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, we are going on daily. So we're on every morning.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of Friday.
Right.
Friday's our day off. But we're here every day at 10 o'clock. If you're watching us right now, you're watching us live on Kick, on YouTube, or on Rumble at Rhode Island Broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching us on Twitch at RI_broadcasting. We all get a good day off except Ron. Well, the day off for us is the day that Ron takes to do whatever he can't do on the other days. But we have the day off.
Yeah.
The show has the day off. Actually, technically, most of us have 6 days off of the show, but that's another story. Technically, and then if you're watching us on X or Twitter, whatever it is, it's Broadcasting RI, right? And then if you're listening to us, if you can't watch us, if you're out running errands or whatever you want to do, and you want to tune in and just listen to us talk, you can catch us at. It would be ready. Okay. Spotify, Red Circle, LinkedIn, Amazon Music, iHeart. Did I get everything?
Mm-hmm.
Did I get everything?
Red Circle.
Yep, Red Circle, Spotify, LinkedIn, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music at RI Broadcasting. And also, there's all of our social medias. I can't remember if we're supposed to still be talking about our social medias or if they're just supposed to be there. But we have MeWe, TikTok, LinkedIn, Blue Sky, Gab, Parlor, Space,
Hey,
and Patreon. And those are all of our social medias. But if you go to our website, which is Rhode you will see all of the stuff I'm talking about. And then you can find whatever you need from there. And then if you are on Facebook, if you're on Facebook right now watching me, where I finally showed up live after not being sure whether Facebook was going to take the live broadcast today, you will find us at Going On Daily Morning Show. If you're on Facebook, go to that page. I'll link it on the top of this video. I didn't do it because I didn't have time, but I will link it right on the top of the video that you're watching on Facebook. And once you get there, like it, then subscribe, send shares out to people you know, tag people, do whatever you got to do just so you get the page out there because we really need to get back our numbers after an unfortunate incident. At Rhode we also have the Hall of Fame, and that's 70s bands, 70s rock bands. I think these will qualify as rock bands. And the QR code between me and Kenny, that's going to be an easy way to get to it. If you click that, it'll just take you straight there. However, it should come right up on the broadcast, the RhodeIslandBroadcasting.net page when you first hit it. So that's that. And you're going to have to vote between Led Zeppelin, Queen, Rolling Stones, Fleetwood Mac, and Pink Floyd. And if you can pick one of those that's better than the others, then you're a better person than me because I like all of these bands. I especially like Led Zeppelin and Queen, but I really love Fleetwood Mac. I really love Pink Floyd, and I do love some of the Stones. So none of these bands are bad. So this can be a tough choice. I mean, I suggest that you take 10 minutes and really think about it because it's not going to be easy. Queen right now is almost at 50%. They were like way ahead of the game, but right now they're at like 56%. And no pun intended, because one of Queen's albums is The Game, and so nobody's gonna get that but me. But anyway, and Kenny's voting for the Rolling Stones again, according to
I'm not
Ron.
voting. I'm not voting for anything.
Yep. Yeah, I don't know. He's seeing what Kenny's doing on the back end. He's trying to call Kenny out. I don't know.
I put my vote in. I'm only voting once.
Okay. I have had to vote for. I'm going to have to vote for more than one because I don't think I can do just one. This is not easy.
Uh-huh. See, so we can, yeah.
But I think you can. I think you can vote for more than one, right?
Yeah.
And then like the chips fall where they may, as they used to say.
Yeah.
I think they're all winners to me. They're all winners to me. Everybody gets a participation trophy. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you can, I'm sure there's people out there that'll look at one and say that's the best one. What are you talking about? So that's great. I happen to not agree. I happen to think they're all pretty good bands. But again, you think you do your thing, and we'll see who comes out. Actually, it was. We're into it. We should be into a new one. We're 2 days in, so we should be into a new voting thing. Actually, okay. So the results will be in on that tomorrow. So that's how we're wrapping up, I guess, the month of April on May 4th, 3rd. All right. But anyway, yeah. So vote under the wire because this has been extended. So if you haven't had a chance to vote, I'd say get it in now before it's too late. Right? And then also on our website, we have I don't know where we are with Uganda. I know there was going to be, maybe we're going to be putting together some kind of information, a book or something like that's on the horizon. But we have Rhode Island Broadcasting.net. We have the Uganda donations. If you're on the page already, you should be able to quickly click the link for that. It should be right on that main page. But if you do not, if you're on the page right now, you can take that whole link that's underneath me and Kenny there, drop it into your field in your browser, and it goes take you straight there. And then from there, if you can, donate anything, that you skip a coffee for one day. Yeah, go through your couch cushions. You know what I mean? That leftover when you're doing Cash App or you're doing Apple Pay or whatever it is, and you have like that $1.72, and you're like, what am I gonna do with this? There you go. You throw it at this. This is where to go. Yep, there's gonna be all right. Illustrations from Hugo. Do I know who Hugo is? It doesn't really matter if I know who Hugo is because I'm not that important, so I should stop asking. However, there should be a book being written and some extra stuff coming out regarding Uganda. And if you go to the website, by the way, for Uganda, if you click the link, I did this because I just wanted to yesterday, I just went through it to see where everything was again. And there's a whole page for Uganda, and then there's like the story time that Becky did for Uganda when she went to visit Uganda. That's there, so you can go straight there, click on that, and then she'll run the story time of her 2.5 weeks or something in Uganda in February, where she met the families that she did, and she, there's a whole lot of information about that. But for the most part, we're trying to raise money for a school that does not have a roof. In Uganda, it's ridiculously hot. Like you cannot, you couldn't sit in a classroom and learn like under those circumstances. And so, a little teeny bit from us goes such a long way in Uganda that every little bit helps. It really helps a lot. As much as you may think it doesn't, it really does. The conversion of money is off the charts. So, again, $1.72 or whatever you have left over for change in your digital wallet, wherever it is like enough for it to be substantial on their side. So I would say go to that website. And like I said, couch cushions, one coffee,
Mm-hmm.
or just whatever that leftover money is that you got from your PayPal and you don't know where you're going to spend it because it's too not enough for anything major. That's exactly what you should put it. Let's help Uganda and let's get some kids into a classroom and let them be able to learn.
Yep.
You know, anything having to do with learning, I'm all over it. Education
Yep.
is a
Key.
thing. It is a thing. It
Mm-hmm.
it is key. What's the I know reading is fundamental, and that's one of the things you would say. But I mean, education is the knowledge is power. That's what I wanted to say. I was trying to come up with
Woo!
that.
Knowledge
I
power.
still haven't had my coffee yet, so my brain is just not. My little
Knowledge is power.
hamster on the wheel is not running as fast as it should be right now.
He said,
But
knowledge
yes,
is
knowledge is
transfer.
power. No matter where you are in the world, knowledge
Knowledge
is
is
power.
power.
And so let's get these kids some knowledge, right? So,
Mm.
so yeah, that's all of our stuff. But yeah, everything you need to know is on that website
Yep.
as far as going on daily is concerned, Rhode Island Broadcasting is concerned. So go there, check it all out. And the next thing that I'm going to get into is because it's Cartoon Week. I don't know.
Mm.
I watched the shows and I kind of looked. I'm working during the week, so I like to kind
Mm-hmm.
of put the show on as I'm working, but I don't always catch everything. And so what I didn't know was like if anybody did anything with the Peanuts characters. Um,
Mm.
I would have thought that would have been one of the first things that somebody did, but I don't think anybody did. But I'm hoping that I am not repeating any information because I didn't, catch every single second of the shows this week.
Mm.
So that's crazy. But I know a lot of people that are. I'm a person that loves Peanuts. I grew up on Snoopy and Charlie Brown, and I love that stuff. Especially as a kid. And for me, the Sunday Funny Papers was. I mean, I liked the Sunday paper, but when I was a kid, that was my favorite thing. Right, was the comic section. That was the best. Other than Saturday morning cartoons, that for kids on the weekend, that was our thing in the morning, right? So, um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I thought Charles Schultz's life and some history about his career and his life and just some stuff about the comic characters would be interesting,
Mm-hmm.
right? So Charles Schultz was born in no, he's born in 1922, November 26, 1922, and one of his uncles, I think it was from another cartoon or something, like nicknamed him Sparky, and he had that nickname his whole life. I don't know why, but he did. It stuck, right? So eventually, his net worth was $40 million a year, right? And this is a
Mm.
guy that like just wasn't sure what to do. Well, he didn't know what he wanted to do with his life, but he went through uh some trials and tribulations in his life that where he probably didn't know where he was going to end up, and there were points in time where his family, they were kind of a small family. His dad ran a barber shop. He was born in Minnesota. I guess they moved to California. They moved around a little bit and then moved back to St. Paul, Minnesota, and that was kind of where he grew up.
Mm.
And his dad ran a barber shop there. And so, was I frozen? I don't know what to say. I'm right on top of my router, and I don't know. Hopefully, this is not going to be something that happens again this week. But when he was a kid, he also loved comic strips, and that was his dad and him would read those together. That was kind of their bonding. And so, as he got older, um, he skipped the third to the fifth grade due to like just being that smart. But when you're a kid, especially when he was growing up, like smartness wasn't always something that other kids understood or appreciated. I'm not even sure even now that kids are real happy about somebody who excels in school. I don't know if those kids still get picked on or whatever it is. His rendition of his life was that he was a child that dealt with bullying and got picked on because of his intelligence. There's some question later on, I guess, in his life about how much he made up, or did his comic book characters, were they more interesting because of he applied his life history to them? But he was a smart kid, and he had really good grades, and he skipped a couple grades in in elementary school, and I guess it got him on the radar for some kids that bullied him, and at least that's what he said. He took an art instruction class, and art instruction was actually a company that would like send you magazines. On the back of a magazine, you would see an ad that said, "Send $170 to us, and we'll send you information, and you'll be able to learn how to illustrate and do art and get certified in that." Back when he was a kid, that's how. I don't know if everybody. I don't think all schools did that, but some schools would do that. They would actually put like information in the back of a magazine somewhere for kids to send in. And so it's much like Phoenix University would be now, but a whole lot different in the sense that kids were reading so many magazines and comics and stuff as a kid. They would see these ads, and so he went and said to his mom, "I want to do this." And in the Depression era, which is extremely, they had like almost nothing. It, it's how they keep track of people. Well, I guess. There's so many ways to do that. But yeah,
Mhm.
I think um, it's amazing to me that in that era, that $170 that his mom sent for him during the Depression was a lot of money. A lot of money. Back in like whatever it was, 1930 or whatever it was,
Mhm.
that's a
Mhm.
lot of money to put towards something like that. So his mom, she believed in him and she wanted to make sure that he took that money and he ran with it. He really did make one hell of an empire out of that $170, right? So
Mhm.
anyway, he did suffer from some depression in his life, and I guess he felt like an outcast. And a lot of Charlie Brown's his story arc is based on Charles Schultz, or how he felt as a kid in school, which is, I guess, kind of a good thing, right? Because in a way, it made Charlie Brown like very relatable to a lot of kids. So, another funny story. He did have a they had a dog named Spike, and when they lived in Needles, California, at some point in their when they were running around moving from house to house until they settled down, and his
Mhm.
dog Spike would like eat all kinds of weird things that and live like razor blades and things like that. I don't even really want to. He would just eat stuff he shouldn't have ate, and he would be okay. So he basically wrote a story and sent it into one of the magazines he read about that, and they did publish it. It was like a little teeny thing during some contest that he was trying to win about his dog. But
Mhm.
if you notice later on in Snoopy's journey, he had a cousin in Needles, California called Spike, and that's where that dog, and again, maybe not a lot of people will remember that because he was out in the middle of Needles, California. He looked like he would have a hat on, and I think he had like some whiskers, and he kind of looked like it looked like almost like an Arizona background, but he was in Needles, California. Was Snoopy's cousin Spike. I just thought that was really funny.
Mhm.
His actually named after their real dog, so that's pretty cool. He was drafted in 1941. He became a staff sergeant for and ran a machine gun um, team, which is kind of cool. Uh, he got a I can't talk this morning yet. Combat infantry badge for being under fire, and that was to
Mm.
him one of his most prized possessions, or one of the most um, one of the hugest compliments of his life was um, that particular that particular trophy. And he probably did see the Red Band with Snoopy. Of course, a lot of Snoopy's life comes from some of Charles Schultz when he was drafted.
Mhm.
And so his mom died in 1943, and the Pearl Harbor War. Those are two major things in his life. After the war, he became kind of religious. He taught Sunday school. He attended worship 3 times a week in church, and was known to have read the Bible cover to cover 3 times. I thought that was interesting. Um,
Mm.
he was always, when he was even when he was overseas, he was always like drawing and sketching, and he had all these little pads that he would just walk around and like draw pictures and illustrate stuff. And a lot of his postcards that came from overseas would have like little pictures on them that he drew, things like that. Like, I guess this is something he did all the time. And that's one of those things that I guess he said he always wanted to be an illustrator, always wanted to be somebody that was in the Sunday papers. And it was something that he walked around and did. I mean, if you know somebody like that with whatever it is that they want to do in their life, that as much as it seems like it's obsessive and it's like obnoxious, like I'm sure that when he was a kid, he was probably bringing paperwork or like pads and stuff to like the dinner table and social events and stuff with his family. He's probably always sitting and sketching, but what a life he built on that, right? And it
Mhm.
did fine tune him. That's like practice. And if it's done repetitiously like that, where you're just not even thinking about it anymore, like think about how much you hone your skills doing stuff like that, right? So, and writers are the same way, or somebody that in your family that's a musician. Think about it, where they're just like all they're doing is playing music to the point where you want to kill them. But how
Mhm.
much of the skill that they're trying to, how much of it they're learning just by constantly doing it like that. It's good for him.
Mhm.
So, and it worked out well for him. So I think that had a lot to do with how good he was at it. And I guess in school he did some type of contest with one of his teachers, his English teachers or art teacher. I'm sorry, in one of his schools, he actually wanted to um, win a contest or something in his school, and they said they gave him something like where draw things in like in threes, um, little things that you see around the house or whatever. Would it be like a ping pong paddle or like an ashtray or whatever it is? And she was impressed by his talent at that time when he was a kid because he was so good at drawing even at that point. And it was probably just because he did it all the time. Um, so I think
Mhm.
that's really cool. But anyway, he did that. Then he went to while he was in church, he was still sketching and illustrating things, and he wrote for a Catholic publisher, Timeless Topics, while he was kind of going through his church phase, and he put out two little comic strips for a magazine for that particular publisher. But I guess like the priest in charge of that didn't like what he wrote or didn't think it, whatever, didn't appreciate it, didn't think it was religious enough or whatever. I mean, it probably it was harmless, but it I guess
Mhm.
wasn't. I guess for whatever reason he thought it was too um risque or whatever. So they pulled that from him. Um in 1939, 1940, by the way, he was told he was unqualified by Disney and by magazines that he submitted
Wow.
to before he served in the war. He submitted to Disney and some other magazines that comic books or whatever it was for illustrations, and they told him he was not good at it. Isn't that funny?
Wow.
So think about that.
Wow.
So, when
Wow.
you're doing something that you love to do or you're trying to get somewhere in life, no matter who you are, people
Mhm.
telling you you're not good at it, it's, I guess it's just going to happen. And what you should do is not pay attention to that and not stop what you're doing based on it, right?
Uh,
So, in some of his comics, or they say that all of his comics were basically people that he pulled in from his real life, right? So, Charlie Brown was a guy he actually worked with at. Um, that's true. I think Peanuts is better than anything that Disney created as well.
mhm.
Disney is a long, complicated, dark history anyway. But yeah, Charlie Brown was actually a guy he knew when he went back to after he left. He stayed with the church and everything. He remained religious, but not as much. And he ended up going to the art institution, which is the place that he got his degree, his little certification. He went back to that school for 5 years, and he worked there, like um, helping students and trying to get students illustrations to be better, whether he graded those things or whatever he did working with students. But he went back to that school and put 5 years in. So right there, I think that like kind of pays for that $170 that he paid to get his degree. And so he stayed there and did that. But while he was there, he had people that he met. One of them was Charlie Brown, literally a guy by the name of Charles Brown. Um, a guy named Linus Maurer, who he pulled in for the character of Linus.
Mm.
And then Frida Rich, who became obviously a character of Frida, and he incorporated them as comic characters. He had neighbors, Luann and Philip Van Pelt. So I believe that Lucy and Linus had that last name Van Pelt eventually.
Mhm.
And also Philip was a World War II soldier that he was drafted with, and also his next door neighbor. So those people kind of got incorporated in. And then there was a woman by the name of Donna Mae Johnson. Now Donna Mae Johnson was a woman that he had a crush on, and was dating, I guess, briefly. And I guess she was dating another guy by the name of Al, or she had some guy that she was really into named Al that knew her
Mm.
family, and she ended up marrying this guy. But Charles apparently was so into her he never got over her, and she
Mm.
became the little red-haired girl that he talked about all the time in the comics. So if anybody remembers the comics and the little red-haired girl that Charlie Brown was always looking for invitations from and, to get together with, and that's who the little red-haired girl became. And eventually her name was Heather. He called her Heather, and her last name was Wold, Wold, which was Donna Mae Johnson's husband's actual name. So when Donna Mae married this guy Al, his last name was Wold. And so when he made Heather out of this little red-haired girl in the comics, he called her Heather Wald because her last name was Al's last name, kind of thing. So he brought that
Mhm.
into the comic, into the comics. His early comics, he had one called that one from the church where he called "Just Keep Laughing," and it was by Sparky. Sparky was what he called himself in that comic instead of his real name. That was February 1947, and again, it ran two. Only two comics ran in that magazine that Christian, I guess it was Christian or Catholic magazine, before they pulled it on him. Then he had something called Sparky's Little Folks, so it's LIL with an apostrophe, and that ran June 8th, 1947 is when that started running. But he had a pay disagreement, and that was a Minnesota Tribune that he ran those in, and he had a pay disagreement with them where he wanted more money and they didn't want to give him more money, or whatever the case may be. That only
Mhm.
ran for 2 weeks, and that ended. And then he decided to take his little folks comic over to Pioneer Press, and that ran from that June 22nd of that same year, and then it ran for 2.5 years. And then that same thing, they ran it in the women's section of the paper, and they didn't pay him a whole lot for it. So at some point, he said, "Listen, I want some kind of something to change here. I want you to either take it out of the women's section or pay me more, or both." And when they decided they didn't want to do that, he said, "Well, I'm going to pull the comic." And I guess they said, "Okay, go ahead and pull it." So he did. That was what happened. And so eventually, he asked his buddy that he worked with at Art Institute, Charlie Brown, "Can I use your name for this comic?" And his buddy said, "Sure." So the first official use of Charlie Brown was May 30th, 1948, and I guess it ran through a few characters before it stuck. And
Mhm.
it had like a little rudimentary Snoopy like dog in it. So that's the first time you see Snoopy show up. And he became like the prototype for what ended up being the Peanuts. And so when he eventually got United Feature Syndicate, which is the place that he started publishing Peanuts officially in October 7th, 1950, right? And
Mhm.
so he he requested a strip from them. They requested it be a comic strip instead of whatever he was doing. It wasn't exactly this kind of strip that you've seen from him overall. But they asked that the name change be made because Little Abner was a comedy or a comic that was out. A Little Abner was kind of too close to that, and there was also a Little Folks cartoon by somebody else. And so
Mhm.
they suggested Peanuts. And to be honest with you, Charles Schultz never liked that name, which I did not know. He never liked it. He always thought that was a ridiculous name for the comic. Um, he it was named after Howdy Doody's Peanut Gallery. If anybody watched Howdy Doody or is old enough to remember that, they had a peanut
Mhm.
gallery where they would have like people would come out and like perform, and the kids sitting in the audience would like throw peanuts. That was literally what the peanut gallery was, and that's
Mhm.
where they got the name Peanuts for the comic from, right? So, but yeah, I thought that it was interesting that he never liked the name because it became the comic strip for the rest of his life, so I always thought he kind of liked it, but I guess they gave it to him and he just was like, all right, whatever. With whatever deal they signed with him, he agreed to it. And then it stuck eventually. But there were some characters, Patty and Shermie. Patty did not Peppermint Patty because that was a later character. But somebody by the name of Patty and Shermie, those were early characters that were eventually phased out of the strip. And Charlie Brown did not have a shirt stripe at all on his shirt. It was just plain until December 21st, 1950. So his character looked like a lot younger, probably a lot happier kind of thing, and the character did not have any striping on his shirt for a while. And then the Snoopy was a run of the mill dog that like wasn't anybody's pet in particular. Like he didn't belong to anybody. He just was a dog that was there with the kids. And it wasn't until January 1956 that he stands up for the first time because Snoopy was a running dog. He was on four legs for most of the comic strip. And until he started moving around the way that Snoopy looks, that's the first time he stood up, right? So his doghouse didn't show up right away. And then he didn't sleep on top of his doghouse until December 1958. And then the first World War I flying ace battle is in October 1965. That was the first, time that he did that whole thing about him being a World War I flying ace. He married a woman by the name of Joyce in 1951. Charles did, and according to her, he was particularly or perpetually seen as a depressed person. He was always like, "I don't think I'm ever going to get what I want. I'm never going to be happy." Like this was her impression of him. He avoided therapy because he thought it would take his talent away. He said to him, "I think you should go talk to somebody about this. Like, this is not good. You should be, maybe that'll help you." And he was scared to death that therapy would make him not talented, so he never did. That's interesting to me. And they did have 4 kids together. Things did not eventually work out. He kind of had an affair with a younger woman at one point, which was a whole nother story. They divorced in 1972, but she was the inspiration for Lucy that showed up in 1952. She was kind of the one that was like, that's why Lucy kind of has a therapy edge, and was kind of cranky and disapproval of him a lot. Came from his wife, came from Joyce. And she wasn't a miserable woman, but she was very, she took care of the family. He kind of was off doing his own thing, and she took care of 4 kids. So, there were times that she was a little under the weather or cranky with him, and you can kind of understand why. And him being depressed and saying, "I'm never going to have what I want, and I'm never going to be happy," is stop it. Is something that she was trying to help him with. So I don't know. He may have taken it as that she was a disapproval of him, but I think she was just trying to say, "Hey, nobody's supposed to live like this. Like, do something about this." And Linus also appeared in September of 1952, but his blanket did not show up until June 1954. Right? And I guess there was a little period too where they had Linus in glasses. I don't know if you've ever seen any of the comic strips where Linus had like glasses because he was a philosophical kid, and so he put glasses on him for a little while to make him, because he was always waxing about something. And I guess they took the glasses out. Eventually, he took the glasses out because it was like hard to make his expressions with the glasses on his face. So they did take that out eventually. He illustrated. He remarried in 1973 to Elizabeth Forsyth, and I believe that's who he ended up marrying to the rest of his life. He illustrated 2 volumes of Art Linkletter's "Kids Say the Darndest Things" in the mid-50s. That's something I did not know, and I thought that was interesting. If you've ever seen those books and you've seen the illustrations in those books, they look like Peanuts characters, and that's why I really never knew officially that he did that. So that was cool. By 1958, he had 400 papers rolling. He started with something like 7 or 8, and he was in 400 papers by 1958. In 1963, Ford Animation Project happened, and his documentary happened, which rolled into like an animated, some specials. There's a guy by the name of Bill Melendez, who basically, how do I want to put it? He's the one who got the straight illustrations to become like animation. And in 1963, Ford, he approached him, or I think somehow he and Ford got together and did some ad campaign for 3 years. And in that, they put Peanuts characters, and those characters had to move. And that's the first time that the characters, he had to work with somebody to get them to be, walking and talking and that kind of stuff. And so he was working with a guy by the name of Bill Melendez, who I guess did a lot of illustrations and stuff for other TV specials and shows and things like that. And Lee Mendelson is a guy that was a producer and was trying to do a documentary about Charles Schultz's life and he had just
Mhm.
done one for um, a baseball. I can't remember now off the top of my head because I didn't write it down. There's a guy that he did a baseball documentary about that happened to be a big thing for Charles Schultz because he was a big baseball fan. And when this guy said to him, "I want to do this documentary on your life," he said, "Well, if you can do a documentary on this guy, then I'll allow you to do whatever you want with me." And he was in a song. He was in a car and heard a song by Vince Guaraldi. Now, if you don't know who Vince Guaraldi is, like I have like everything Vince Guaraldi owns. I love his music. It's like that's where I got it from. But I absolutely love even a lot of the stuff that he didn't do. But he heard a song by Vince Guaraldi in the car and said, "This would be really cool music for this documentary I'm doing about your life and about these characters." And they called Vince Guaraldi, and Vince Guaraldi called. I guess he wrote Linus and Lucy after being asked to do it, and called Lee Mendelson and like at some point in the middle of the night or an inconvenient time and said, "Listen to this. You have to listen to this right now. I wrote this and I need you to listen to it." Anyway, he wrote a lot of music for the Peanuts characters over the years, a lot of the specials. And Vince Guaraldi's music is just, oh my god, like I just love it. And it's just interesting that it all rolled together because of that documentary. They got these characters to be illustrated, and I mean not illustrated but animated. That was when that started happening. They did a
Mhm.
Christmas special in 1965, and they were trying to get the documentary promoted, and somehow or other, the Christmas special got wrapped into what they were doing, and it was CBS at the time, and they ran CBS ran this Christmas special in 1965, and everybody held their breath because they thought it was going to be the worst thing ever. They really thought that everyone was going to hate it, and they did such insane numbers for that Christmas special that they wrote several more. So now, if you're ever on Christmas or Thanksgiving or anything like that, it's now kind of a tradition to
Mhm.
watch the Peanuts. And the reason that they were on every year with CBS is because they did so well that first year. And CBS said, "Well, we want 4 or 5 other specials. We want a Easter, and we want a Thanksgiving, and we want a Halloween." And so they also obliged CVS and said, "All right, well, we'll do that too." And so then, as kids growing up, we got to watch those specials on CBS every single year because of the documentary, which came from the Ford Animation Project. So all of that, like I said, is just interesting to me, right? And that was December 9th, 1965, that special ran. Right. And it's a Great Pumpkin. Charlie Brown was one of them. And it's, Happy
Mhm.
Thanksgiving, Charlie Brown. And, oh, I forget the names of them or whatever. There was a play that ran, You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, that was based on the character strip at some point. Franklin was introduced in 1968, and he was introduced to promote equality after Martin Luther King and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Were assassinated. Robert F.
Mm.
Kennedy was assassinated. Um, and then at that point in 1968, Snoopy Float was added to the Macy's Day Parade. That was one of the first appearances of Snoopy. And there was a whole
Mhm.
thing they did with the space, um, with the trip to the moon too. They did a whole thing with Snoopy and that at that time. So by 1968, Peanuts ran in 745 daily papers, 393 Sunday papers.
Mm.
So this is 10 years later. This is where he's at. In 1996, Charles Schultz got a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. And in 2015, Snoopy got a Hollywood Walk of Fame star. I don't know if anybody knows about the Walk of Fame, but they don't give it to you. You have to, one, ask for it, and two, pay for it, which
Mhm.
I did not know. So if you're a
Yep.
celebrity, every time they do these little press conferences and somebody's like, "Oh, this is wonderful," and blah, 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 I think that you have to actually, as a star, say, "I want that." And then somebody in the Hollywood Star Committee says, "Okay, you can have that." And then you pay to have it put in. So it's not like
Mhm.
the gift that it looks like when you're watching it on TV. And so a total of you have to do community service. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that you have to do in order to get on that to get that star put in. But it's just funny because it looks like someday they call you up and they go, "Here, this is for you," but that's not the way it works. Um,
Yeah.
in total, he ran 17,897 comics in his life.
Wow. That's a lot.
He never took a day off. He was always working to the detriment of most of his family and friends and stuff because he didn't really have much of a social life. including his kids. But he did finally take 5 weeks off in 1997 because he was turning 75. So he finally said, "I'm taking 5 weeks and I'm not doing anything."
Mm.
He retired in 1999 though because he was diagnosed with colon cancer, and I'm not sure most people probably know this. He ended up dying in 2000 at 77 years old. And all told, he had 2,600 newspapers, 21 languages, and 75 countries that ran Peanuts.
Wow.
So that's pretty cool. And so I don't know. Can you name all the characters?
No, I can't. No.
No. You got Charlie Brown, you got Lucy, you got Peppermint Patty, you got Marcy, you got Snoopy. At least that's down underneath you. You got Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
or what they would call him, Roosevelt Franklin. I actually remember that. And you have Schroeder, and you have Violet, because Schroeder and
Mm-hmm.
Violet were kind of the last two, I think, after, or I'm not sure. They were towards the end of the comic strip. They were the ones that added the latest, But that's all of the ones that are underneath you there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And so that's just the life of, and Sally. Yes, I'm sorry, Sally. Sally's like, yeah, in between. She's in between Charlie Brown, and that's like Charlie Brown's little sister, and then Linus
Mm-hmm.
is Lucy's little sister. And then towards the end when he started, that's true, we have Pigpen as well. That was the second kid. I think Pigpen eventually ended up in more than Franklin did. I'm not sure. I can't remember. But that was mostly in the 70s. But he, towards the end of his life, he actually he had a tremor that he had to deal with, and he had to hold his hand to draw. And so somewhere around 1999 or 1998, or close towards the end of his life, his comics, you can tell, are actually shaky. They published him anyway, but you could see that they're shaky. And it's kind of sad when you look at it now, because he was sick, but he also lived a good life. So that's the stuff about Charles Schultz that you may or may not know.
All right.
You know,
All
I
right.
know that was really that ran really long. I'm so sorry, so sorry. But yeah, Kenny's got what does he got for us now? Celebrity birthdays.
Celebrity,
Oh, he put
celebrity
the penguin there.
birthdays. Yeah, I put the penguin up there. Yeah, Spinub. Yeah, Spinub. Spinub. Oh. Whoa.
All right, who do we got?
All right. Uh, celebrity, celebrity birthdays today. Thank you. Okay. All right. I agree. I agree. Yep. Let them know. Let them know. Speak it. Speak the truth. Yep. One of my twins, American professional wrestler, actor, producer, known as The Rock, famous for films like Jumanji and Baywatch.
Mm-hmm.
Dwayne Johnson. He turns 47 today. hmm English soccer midfielder and former captain, played for Manchester United, Real Madrid, LA Galaxy, owner of Interim Miami CF. David Beckham, he turns 50. Hey, and American country singer, music artist with 25 hit country songs, chart toppers, and 3 Grammy Awards. Tim McGraw turns 59.
Tim McGraw,
Mm-hmm.
son of Tug McGraw. If you're a baseball
Mm-hmm.
fan, thank you very
Mm-hmm.
much.
True story. True story.
True story. True story.
I'm,
Wow.
I'm getting
Oh,
there. We got
what
the
about
we got,
the? Okay.
we got the birthday of the Red Baron up here. The Red Baron.
Yep.
Um, this guy is yeah um Benjamin Spock. Benjamin Spock, influencer, American pediatrician, and author of Common Sense books for babies. Mm-hmm.
We were raised on Spock, and let me tell you,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Yep.
why most of us are messed up right now. The Spock treatment, the Spock theories. I don't know
Yes,
if they did well or not, but anyway.
yes, yes. And he was born in New Haven, Connecticut, which is right up the street from me. And this guy over here, oh my God, this guy right here, he is yeah,
Well, he's not on your
yeah,
list. Come on now.
yeah. He's not on my list, but oh my gosh, it's yeah, Engelbert.
Is that Engelbert
Engelbert.
Humperdinck?
Yeah,
That's a tiny
Engelbert
picture, so I
Humperdinck.
can't tell. Okay.
Yeah, me neither.
Honestly, wouldn't have thought that's who that was.
Yep.
I
Engelbert
wasn't sure if that was
Humperdinck.
Tony from Tony and Dawn or if that was like.
That's my boy. Tie your ribbon around the old oak tree. The old oak
Yeah, I
tree.
that's
Hey,
thought
the
that's
old
maybe who that
oak
was, but
tree.
I couldn't tell. But and who's the oh man. Oh, I'm trying to think of there's another that picture looks Spanish, right? So he looks like a
Yeah,
Spanish guy. So I'm
yeah.
thinking of like the dude who did Feliz Navidad. That's what I thought it was.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't think of who that is. Jose Feliciano. That's what it is. That's what I thought it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I just
And
pulled that out of
Tyler
the back
Bush.
of my brain.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Wow.
that's an artist that they were going to see in the movie Fargo. That's just the randomest information, but there's one scene where they're just like sitting in a theater, you know, watching Jose Feliciano. Like you just never would think you would see that in the middle of a movie in the 90s. But yeah. Look, he's listing off all the rest of those people that was having birthdays.
Paul George.
Yeah.
He doesn't count. Paul George. So
Okay.
that is celebrity birthdays. Pat McAfee, stop. Stop. Pat McAfee.
I will say that it was my sister's birthday yesterday, so happy birthday to her.
Oh, happy birthday, sis.
Yep, it was her birthday yesterday.
Oh. 21 again?
Yeah, 21 again. 21 a lot. Well, 21 a lot at this point. Who else? Who else, Ron, did we forget for birthdays? Is that everything?
Yeah. That's everything for me. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just going to wrap this up with a Rhode Island born person by the name of Comic Storian. Anybody who's into YouTube type illustrations or comic series or anything like that, there's a guy by the name of Comic Storian. His actual name is Ben Potter or Benny Potter. Born in 1984. But yeah, he had a bunch of channels on YouTube. Comic Storian, Manga Storian, Eligible Monster, Gaming Lore. He did a lot of stuff like that. But he was born in Rhode Island and grew up here. So his interest in comic books began from reading those that his dad collected. And he later stopped reading comics after the Clone Saga became too convoluted for him to follow. If you're a big kind of superhero comic strip reader, you would love him. So go check. If you haven't, I would think that if you're a really big DC Marvel comic person, you probably know Comic Storian anyway. But if you have not heard of him, you should check him out. He was deployed to in the mid 2000s. He was deployed to Afghanistan. Worked as a military in a military hospital, serving as a United States infantry soldier, where he started reading comics again because it was easier to understand, or at that point, what he was reading was easier to understand. After he retired from the military, he began Comic Storian in 2014, and the idea for the channel came from his struggles to get back into comics and for his wife to understand superhero movies without having to read the comics, because a lot of people that are into superhero movies and stuff like that are really big avid comic readers. And some people do not want to follow that. So he did die in 2024. At the time of his death, his channel had over 3 million subscribers, but it is classic. And since it's Rhode Island based, I think that people should check him out. He did run other channels. That was, I think that was the one that made the most of a splash, right? He ended up he died in Colorado, actually. But the other thing I wanted to mention, he used to post like commentary about comic books. So if you go to read, he'll roll through comic books, DCs and Marvels, and like he had commentary about the historic art, the arcs or the illustration or whatever. And that was what people loved so much. So anyway, He died in a car accident on Interstate 25 in Colorado on June 8,
Jesus.
2024, at the age of 40. His car crossed off the road and flipped several times. The team behind the channel stated that they would continue channeling, doing what they could in some capacity after his death. So I'm not sure how much of the channel is still running, but they promised to try to keep running that channel after he passed because he had so many avid fans. But if you get a chance, Ben Potter, a comic historian, because he's from Rhode Island, I think it's important that people check him out.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's a sad story, and nobody really knows what happened as far as how he passed away or why his car went off the road. But if you're into that kind of stuff, he might be somebody you want to subscribe to on YouTube or his channel. Anyway, yeah, comic historian, and that wraps up today. So tomorrow morning, you guys are going to be doing Star Wars week. Is tomorrow. Kenny looks really happy about that. What am I listening to? It sounds like I can hear like cars or something moving around. I don't know. It sounds like somebody's.
Oh,
You got
that's
like
a-
lawn
that's-
guys outside?
This is French. Some kind of I don't know, some kind of car in front of the house. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Thought maybe your landscaping team showed up. But yeah, tomorrow morning, Ron and Kenny do their thing, their usual Sunday
Yeah.
thing. Everybody, all the millions of fans that love Kenny and Ron, trying to figure out what are they going to do next. Bobby Boucher, that's who's outside. Yep.
Bobby Boucher.
Yeah. So yeah, they'll be on tomorrow, and yeah, we're kicking off Star Wars week tomorrow. I don't think anybody's probably going to be less excited about this week than me. Because I am like not a Star Wars person at all. However, I am very big on some stuff that's related to Star Wars. So I'll figure it out. I always do. Yeah, but tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, Kenny and Ron are on doing their thing.
Yep.
And yep, may the 4th be with you. That's going to be really on Monday, so that's not tomorrow, but it's coming though. It'll be here. Soon enough. So hopefully everybody has a good Saturday. How are we doing? We're not even 10 minutes over 11. That's not too bad. Hopefully everybody has a good Saturday and gets out and about. It's supposed to rain a little bit up here in New England, but it's only supposed to be for an hour, if that. So I think it's supposed to rain a little bit for like a quick, and then it should be pretty good. I don't know if it's going to be sunny out, but it should be at least not raining. So today's the day to clean the house because it's really not going to be sunny out.
Do I have to?
Man, you don't really have to, but if you need to look something to do, you can't really go. Today's not the day to go to the park, I don't think, but who knows? It's not going to be sunny today, I don't think so. Anyway, at least not up here. I'm sure wherever you are in the country, it might be, but not in New England. It's going to be gray all day today, so.
Yeah.
But anyway, hopefully, let's see. Where can we find Kenny? We can find Kenny here. You can find me, Elena DJ Williams, DEEJAY on Instagram. Lena DJ Lena Williams at Facebook, and same thing, DEEJAY. And Lena Lee Williams 8668 on YouTube. And Thursday nights at 7 Eastern time, we have our NBA show. That's what Ron's saying. So
yes.
Let's not forget that. So put that in your calendar. Put that in your calendar and smoke it. Okay? Just put it in your calendar and get it over with.
Yeah.
Do you know the best thing to do when you're like, I should write that down, is you should write it down. When you think you should write it down, instead of saying I should, but I'll do it in a minute, you're not going to do it in a minute. I'm just letting you know this. When your brain tells you should stop and look at something or do something, you should stop and do it right there and then. Because if you don't, you won't. Just saying. When it comes to scheduling things, when you say, man, I should put this in my calendar. But you don't. But when you say it is when you should do it. If you don't do it, you will forget. Guaranteed. So just do it when you think you're. Let me stop right now. I put this in my calendar. Let me stop right now and write this, whatever my grocery list. I have to remember I got to get this from the store. Write it down right there and then, so that you don't forget. Because you will guaranteed you will forget if you don't do it right there and then. I'm just telling you, somebody who's been on this earth for half a decade, this is never not a rule. It's always going to be like that. And then you're going to be in the store going, why didn't I write this down? You're actually not going to be in the store doing it. You're going to go to the store. You're going to forget the thing. You're going to come home. And then when you get home, you're going to go, oh, I was supposed to buy such and such. And I forgot. Why didn't I write that down? This time, just write it down when you think of it. That's all. I've said what I had to say for the day. So put that 7 p.m. Thursday Eastern time right in your calendar. Ramble on, Led Zeppelin. Good point, Ron. Had to go vote for Led Zeppelin before it's too late. But you guys have a great day. And remember, we've got it going on daily. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.